Welcome. So I'd like to tell you a brief story. This is a story that takes place in Russia. It's a story that I've heard. Okay. So there's a man who is he's a member of the Orthodox Church. He's a good man. He prays, but he struggles because he has a challenge when things are not going well. And so he goes to the priest and he says, I'm having this trouble, which is that you say that we should be grateful at all times. And it's easy when things are good, but it's very difficult when things are not good. And I don't know how to deal with this. Do you have any advice? And the priest says, I cannot help you, but I know someone who can. And he says, there are, as you know, there are hermitages in the forest where these hermits live. And there's one in particular. You go to him and he will be able to answer your question. So gives the man directions on how to get there. And so the man goes out into the woods and he follows the directions and he gets to the hermitage. And it's just this tiny shack. And it's the middle of winter, and the shack is more drafty than not drafty. I mean, there's more space in the walls than there are boards. And he approaches, and it's not even a door on the doorway. It's just an open doorway, and so he is able to see inside before he even gets too close, and he can see that inside there's this man who is emaciated and who has sores all over his body. And it's closer, and he approaches the doorway, and as he does, the man inside opens his eyes and looks up, and the man who's approaching sees that even despite all of the emaciation and the sores all over this hermit's body, sees that this hermit's eyes are glowing. He's very vibrant. And so the man asks the hermit his question, and he says, please, the priest told me you would be able to help me. How can I deal with this? When things are going well, it's easy for me to be grateful and to thank God. But when things are not going well, when I'm suffering, I don't know how to be grateful. And the hermit says, I'm afraid I can't help you either. I have no experience with suffering. God has only given me bliss and great things. So we could take that story and just file it away. Oh, that's an interesting story about somebody else somewhere far away. Or we could accept that that's a story about us. And so my invitation today is for us to explore how that is about us. So call to mind your troubles, the difficulties in your life, the things that you struggle with, the things that you think, if only these would change, if only these things could be fixed, if only these things would go away, or whatever the case may be, that I would then be okay. And notice how it is that you perceive that that is the case. So in order to perceive that that is the case, you maybe have an idea. The idea is somewhat superficial, because the idea itself doesn't really, you don't experience the idea per se. So whatever the idea is kind of just a superficial layer. It's just a story about it. But notice how it is that you perceive that there is a problem, how you perceive that this, whatever you think about, whatever the story is, it's not the story itself that causes you the problem, it's the experience that is closer in, it's the felt sense of it. So you can just feel that, whatever that is, whatever that experience is, that it's not okay. And let's just close the eyes. So that we can really focus on that not okayness, that problem, the felt sense of it. Now, at least on some level, you have certainty that this is a problem. You must have certainty that it's a problem. Otherwise, you wouldn't give it so much importance. So that's I want to encourage you to be aware of that level at which you have that certainty of the problem. So we're not trying to talk ourselves out of it. We're not trying to dissuade ourselves. We're just actually wanting to be fully present with it. So allowing it to be here, allowing this problem to be here, the discomfort of it. And sometimes the mind plays some trickery in which it will try to make it disappear. And then you might have the thought, oh, it's not here now. I don't know how to make it be here. But then even that is the problem. Even the seeming disappearance of the problem is itself a problem. So it's really just about noticing that this this problem, the sense of the problem, it's a shapeshifter. So if we, it's like a cloud. A cloud, we see a form in the cloud, a shape in the cloud, and we say, oh, look, there's the elephant. And then after some time, we no longer see that form and we say, oh, the elephant's gone. But the cloud didn't go. It was just the form that was taking. And so we don't want to allow ourselves to be distracted by the particular form it takes. Rather, we want to notice the underlying problem or perception of a problem, the underlying discomfort, the underlying pain, the underlying suffering, whatever that is. So it's really just a sense that something's not okay. And this is a felt sense. You can feel it. You know that it's true because you feel it. So no matter how many ways you try to reframe it or ignore it or get away from it or fix yourself or whatever other efforts you might take, this remains. It's always here and it's ready to strike given the slightest of opportunity. So that's what we want to really be aware of. Just allow yourself to be aware of that. So here, again, I want to encourage you to notice that level at which you have certainty that this is a problem. So we're not trying to get away from it. We're not trying to ignore it. We're not trying to sugarcoat it. We're not trying to do anything other than be fully acknowledging it at the level at which we perceive this is a problem. So just feel that sense that you can't bear this, you can't stand it, you can't take it, you can't handle it. It's too much, it's too uncomfortable, it's too much of a burden, it's too much of a struggle, it's too much suffering, it's too awful. So you're able to feel that. And even if your mind tells you, oh, it's just numbness, just understand that that's just the mind applying a different form to it, but it's still present. You know that it's still present because if you call it numbness, you still don't like it. So don't be distracted by the label that the mind applies to it. Just be with the direct experience and don't be deceived. Just acknowledge the discomfort. Okay, so now I want us to really take a look directly at this discomfort or this problem or this pain or whatever word we want to apply to it. Obviously, no word is it, just as no form is it. So we can go beyond the name and the form and we can just be present with it, to it. And notice how you relate to it. So just observe, like you can imagine that you are in a room with a cobra, some kind of deadly poisonous snake. So you can notice that there's that discomfort that you experience. It's a kind of repulsion or vigilance, like you're prepared for an attack. There's a kind of guard that you have up. So it's the same as if you were in that room with that poisonous snake. So whatever this problem is, it's as if it's a poisonous snake. It's as if it's going to destroy you, kill you, attack you. And so the body is on guard. It's it's just prepared for that attack, prepared for that possibility. So notice that, and then be curious. Okay, approach this now as if you were a newborn baby. So I want you to imagine that you have never had any experience with this, whatever this is, this felt sense. You've never experienced this before, so you have no idea what it is. Of course, you think you know what it is, but this is just an imagination exercise. So I want you to imagine that you've never experienced it. You've never experienced anything, so you can't even reference anything to say it's like something else. And you have no idea what it is. Just like you might imagine a newborn baby having no prior experience with anything. If the newborn baby is next to a cobra, the newborn baby wouldn't be repulsed. The newborn baby, maybe, if anything, would simply be curious. So can you imagine that? Can you imagine that you don't know anything? You've never experienced anything. You don't know what this is. You don't have any frame of reference. So can you allow yourself to be open to it? With that kind of curiosity, like a newborn infant. So as you allow yourself to be open in this way, like a newborn infant, you may find that new layers appear. Or new, it morphs in some way. And if you allow it, those new forms will distract you, and you'll be off in comparing this to some past thing, and this is bad, and I can't take it. This is tearing me apart, it's harming me. All of these kinds of things can come up. But again, notice that these are all just the forms that the same essence is taking. So the same essence takes all of these forms. It's at the heart of it. You don't know what it is, but your response in each case is the same. It's a conditioned reaction of repulsion, fear, armoring. So here we're exploring in each moment as if we are newborn infants. So whatever the form is, we don't have anything to reference, no prior experience that we can refer to. We can't say this is like anything else. So whatever is happening, whatever the experience, whatever the sensation, whatever this is, we're just exploring it in this open, curious way. So this is really a radical exercise. I want to be clear about how radical in the literal sense this is. So we're going all the way to the very root of experience, and we're saying, I don't have any frame of reference. I don't have anything to compare this to. I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's good or bad. So even the sense of the armoring or the reaction or the discomfort or whatever, even that starts to be very blurry because we're going all the way to the root. We don't even know what that is. We can't even say that I am separate from that and that is separate from this essence that I'm witnessing. Is all becomes a singularity, just one single happening now. So the brain may still produce all kinds of content, thoughts, images, memories. But in each case, we're meeting the experience in the same way, in this open way, without a reference to the past. So we don't know what this is. We don't know what it means. So even if an image appears or a memory appears, or even if a thought that is about me appears, we don't know what any of that means. We don't know what it refers to. It's doesn't have any meaning that we can understand because we're simply open to it like a newborn infant. So now we're in this very interesting position because we can see, hopefully at least, we can see there's it's like there's a kind of switch. So if we, as long as we remain still, just as the witness, then we can't say what this is. We can't say that anything is happening. We don't know. the moment that we begin to energize any kind of movement, then there's this switch. It can go one of two ways. One way is that it can go down the familiar path. I know what this experience is. I know what it's called. I know what it means. I know who it refers to. So that way is a dead end. Every time we go down that way, we get to the dead end, and then we say, I don't know what to do. Now, the other possibility is it's a binary. You can't do both. It's one or the other. You either go down the dead end or you don't. So this pure, undifferentiated energy can take any form. And we know that, as I said, if we flip that switch and go down the familiar path, we know what form it takes. It's reliable. But notice that if you go down that path, what is it you're looking for? Why do that? And then you can see why that is a dead end, because you go down that path looking for something. There's a sense, start out with the assumption of that there's something missing, some lack of some kind, something's off. And the more you go down that path, the more it reinforces that there is something truly off. And this becomes more and more clearly defined, so that by the time you reach the end of the dead end, it's very hard, very, very hard. It's so well defined that it's very hard. And that's why you can't go any further. It's so hard. There's no way to go further. You've reached the end. But what is it you are seeking down that path? You're seeking for completeness. You're seeking for fulfillment. And what is that completeness and that fulfillment? It's to not be seeking for anything. The seeking reinforces the sense that there's something missing. What we're seeking for is the completeness. The completeness is simply nothing missing. which is why clearly when we go down that path, it's a dead end, because we can't get what's missing when nothing's missing. But anytime, at least at this moment, anytime we go down any path, it all is the same path, because it's the well-worn groove. Everything goes to that path. It all goes to the dead end. So how can we change that? It's to fill in that groove so that it no longer exists. It's to smooth out all the wrinkles. It's to no longer have a dead end. And the way to do that is to remain. So we're not checked out, we're not absent, we're not zoned out, we're not distracted, we're not avoiding. There's a magnificent energy. If we conceive of ourselves as being anything separate from this energy, then the energy is so enormous that it's overwhelming. And of course, then we'll go right down that pathway of the familiar, and we'll end up at the dead end again, throwing up our hands and saying, see, it's overwhelming. But if we just pause and witness as if we have never experienced anything before, which really is the truth, then we can start to perceive this energy, this vast energy that fills in the groove, smooths out the wrinkles, and reveals the fulfillment of everything. Any perception of lack is cleared away, so long as we just rest here for this moment now. So anytime that we start from the assumption that there is something, there is a problem, there's a lack, then we're stepping outside and looking at ourselves, and what we'll perceive is suffering. We'll perceive emaciation, sores, coldness, pain, suffering. But if we don't step outside of ourselves, if we don't make that assumption, if we don't even enter into time, then we can notice what is perfectly clear. Here's another image for you. The tired and fussy baby. And the tired and fussy baby is held in the mother's arms. And eventually goes to sleep. So the sense of the problem is like that fussy baby. And we are like the mother, we meaning in this case the depends. It depends on how you approach it. So one possibility is to be frantic. Well, no, what does the baby need? What's wrong? What does it need? What do I do? Must be failing. Must be a big problem. Maybe the baby's ill. What do I do? Maybe I should go to a specialist. Maybe I need to go get some help. The other possibility is to know all is well. I'm the mother. The baby's fussy. The baby has everything the baby needs. The baby's here with me. So most of us go about most of our lives being like the frantic mother. And so this must be a big problem. What do I do? How do I fix it? And of course, when we're distraught and running around, further distresses the baby. Baby can't rest. But when we choose calm assurance, then the baby eventually rests. Can't say how long that takes. Maybe it takes a minute, maybe it takes 10 minutes, maybe it takes half an hour. So that's all for today's formal portion. So be aware of yourself. Be aware of who that is, who it is that is aware.
I don't think so. This one was co-op. I mean,
And then become aware of the outer cover of the body. maintaining that sense of the awareness of who is aware, who is present, and slowly begin to open the eyes. And so for those who are here live, we'll stay on for the Q&A. And I'm going to end this recording now. So for those who are here live, just be aware that there will be the automated announcement that the recording is ending. That it can be a little loud. So just be aware, be prepared for that. Here we go.